So today we're going to talk about a topic that is so important. It's a very essential skill that can make a huge difference to your life and your career. And it's something that I have experienced myself quite a bit during my 16 plus years in the FMCG industry, but also in life. And it's something I see quite often with the clients that I'm coaching. And it's the skill that is learning how to say no. You know, how do you say no thank you when your boss is coming over to you with an extra project that's going to land on your desk, perhaps, you know. So do you find, I'm going to ask you that, do you find yourself saying yes to a lot of things at work, even when you don't have the time, you don't have the energy, or you have no interest to do it? Do you perhaps feel guilty or afraid of disappointing others if you decline their request or you don't meet their expectations? And perhaps you know, I'm going to ask you this, do you end up feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or perhaps even resentful because of your overloaded schedule and lack of boundaries and limits? So if you've answered yes to any of these questions, then you are in the right place. This episode is for you, my friend. So stay on and listen on. I'm going to share with you today a simple but powerful template, and basically I'll talk you through it, so bear with. That's going to help you think through all the impact of, you know, saying yes versus saying no, and how to prepare a respectful and yet assertive no answer the next time you face a similar situation where you need to set some limits. So by the end of the episode, you'll have a clear understanding of why saying no is not only good for you, and I guess you know that, but also for the people around you. Or you think you know that, but you don't really understand the real impacts and how is it taxing you? Because if you did, you'd probably find resources within you to say no more often. You'll also have a practical tool that's going to help you overcome the fear and the guilt that comes often with saying no, and communicate your needs and your priorities in a positive and confident way at work, but also at home. So this is a template that you can download, and I'm going to add the link to the description of the episode so you can download it, and it's free. I've created it a couple of years ago based on my own experience of struggling with saying no, and I still do sometimes. I'm just trying to remind myself of, you know, the impact this has. So let's grab a pen and a piece of paper, or if you're living in the 21st century, open your notes app. And perhaps if you're lucky enough to be listening to this accent walking in some beautiful woods, well, just, you know, use the trees as your sparring partner, I guess. That's the best you can do. What I will say is, because I'm going to talk you through the template, I'm going to pause a few times, not too long because it's going to be odd for a podcast episode, but just for you to think about your answer. It might be worth, when you get home or you have a bit of time, to pause the episode and write down what you think is your answer, and then play again so that you hear the next step. There's a couple of questions I'm gonna ask, so that will last a couple of minutes, so just to warn you. Right, let's get ready to say no like a pro. So I want you to think of a situation where you've said yes to something you actually didn't want to say yes to, right? So take a short moment to think of that. You probably have loads in your head. Just pick one, maybe a recent one, or one that really has troubled you. Just to bear in mind, we're not going to rewrite the past. We're just going to use that as an example because it might be quite fresh and you know what's happened. We're just going to replay it as if it was to happen again. So describe the situation, so to yourself, because I can't hear you, unfortunately, and I wish I could, because I could help you more. Describe the situation and the request, the ask, the demand here that was given to you. And if you can, use the present tense. It's a silly kind of technique, but it just helps you go back in the moment. When you use the past, sometimes we're kind of tempted to judge ourselves. So try to use the present tense. So it could be once you have described the situation and you have said yes to this person, to this group of people demanding, asking, requesting something of you, what was the benefit? What is the benefit for this person when you said yes? What did they gain from it? So just, again, answer very simply this question. So it could be, someone saying like, oh, I'm struggling with this problem with Excel. I don't know, I need to do a reporting on my brand, on my P&L. I don't know where to start. I don't understand that. Can you help me? You have no bandwidth, but you accepted despite what you wanted to do, which was not to get involved, and you spend maybe an hour helping them. So the benefit for them, in that instance, would have been to have the P&L started or the template explained, and they're ready to kind of go further. Maybe they have saved time. So what's the benefit for this person based on you saying yes? Now, we're going to look at how has saying yes impacted you. So when you said yes to this person, when you replied yes, what other consequences has it had for you? Not for them anymore, but for you. So you can describe here the emotional impact. Physical impact, sometimes, when you're stressed, it also shows in physical ways. What's the other consequences for you? Your workload, running late to another meeting, working late one evening. How does this make you feel? What's that emotional impact attached to that other consequence that it has for you? Because when we say yes to something, we often have to sacrifice something else. So that's the next question for you. By saying yes, what have you said no to for you? What else that was really important to you have you said no to? So if I take one of these examples, it could be I had to stay late because I needed to finish all the work I had to do today, even though I had helped this person. So I've left work at 8:30 tonight. So therefore I have missed dinner with my partner, or I've not seen my kids, I couldn't put them to bed, or I came back and I was completely exhausted. So I've had a pretty lame evening and I just went to bed early, so I've wasted an evening of personal time. Could have been that, for example. It could be that what else that was important to you doesn't have to be your personal life, it can be also at work. What have you said no to? It could also be, being on track with the stuff you needed to execute or finish today. What else have you said no to when it comes to your area? The next question is to what has been the impact of each no you have identified when it comes to you? What other repercussions has it had for you? Or in other words, in what way did saying no to those things above that we've mentioned, or in what way did that impact you? So if you couldn't finish your to-do list, or if you've missed, putting your kids to bed, or if you missed a nice dinner and evening with your partner, or you're late on delivering a project, or you've been maybe coming along a bit like sharp and short to other people because you were stressed because of all of that, how has that impacted you? What other repercussions has it had for you? The fact that you've said, the impact of each of those no's. So we're going to pause now for the first part of the exercise, and I want you to have a think about what you have noticed at the end of this part of the exercise. What do you see being the true cost to you of this behavior that is saying yes? Because most of the time what I hear, and again I can't hear unfortunately your answers, but what I hear is usually that the person who has asked you something, who's made a request to you, they've got their box ticked, they're happy, They've moved away with what they wanted, or at least most of it. You've been taxed. You've had to sacrifice something for it, and it's cost you. And we usually forget to think about that cost, especially when we're about to give an answer, yes or no, to this request. So this is important. So make sure you identify the true cost to you of that behavior in that specific example or situation. And now we're going to go into the second part. So now that we have reflected on how a yes may impact you, we're going to look at the situation from another perspective. So based on what the first part of the exercise, what is most important to you right now at work? Where do you want your attention and focus to be? What's really important to you? If you had all the time, and the resources in the world, where would you put them against? And once you've answered that, I want you now to formulate your answer or response to the requester, an answer that is going to enable you to say no with confidence. So remember what your attention and focus area is right now, and simply add some context to it. It's always best to keep it short and very simple, because you don't want to give a justification or a massive explanation, because it's not gonna work for your own mind muscle, because your mind is still gonna tell you, well, you see, you're just not gonna accept their request, and you're gonna look bad. They're gonna be a bit pissed off, and you're gonna start to be hated by people because you're gonna be a no person. Just keep it short. You don't have to justify. If you're, what's important to you, where your attention and focus has to be, it's valid. So keep it short, and usually when you keep it short and simple, it's way more powerful. And you will be surprised how people can understand where you come from. So once you have that short formulated sentence, imagine you saying that to them and switch seats. So what do you think will likely be their response to your statement? How do you think they will react to it? So when you struggle with this, think if roles were reversed. Do a really good exercise of putting yourself in their shoes. How would you respond to it? What would you think or feel? And if it doesn't feel quite right because of a word you've said or the way you phrased it, perfect. Then go back to the previous step, the formulation of your response to them, and re-edit it. Just change it, reframe it, shorten it, change a couple of words if you think this is going to have a better impact. Keep it simple and short, again, is the best. And then try again. Once you've reformulated your statement, what do you think their response is going to be to your statement? And if it feels a bit better, great, you're in a better place. It's awesome. You're ready to go. It's that simple. It didn't take us long. I mean, just 10 minutes or so. But it's because I'm taking you through this. The more you go through this exercise, the more naturally it will be, and you won't have to go through all these questions. You'll just come up with a simple and short answer when it matters most, when actually you really don't want to do it, you don't have the bandwidth or the space to do or accept something they're asking you to do. The last piece is really for me to ask you, what learnings do you take from this exercise? How do you feel right now, knowing the real cost to you of saying yes to something you wanted to say no to? And what do you want to do? How do you want your answer and response to be? Because next time this situation occurs again, and that probably will be occurring many times, you'll be prepared with a response to give them. So it won't take you too long. And I assure you that the response, the reaction that the people will have in front of you will largely be positive. So I want to ask you, what's the one action you can start implementing starting tomorrow? What's going to be the next occasion, the next opportunity for you to start saying no to? And try it with maybe a small, insignificant situation, and then you can kind of take it to bigger ones. You're just going to build confidence. And the situations I've been in the past where I've said yes to it was so it's work and it's also life. A friend asking me to kind of go out and go for dinner when I've had some kind of busy days at work, and I just need a bit of me time, and I say yes because otherwise they're going to think I don't want to see them. I mean, this is all the stuff I'm thinking in my head, but that probably isn't true. They will likely understand that I need a bit of a time, for myself. At work, it might have been, excuse me, at work, it might have been someone asking for my help, or me getting involved in a project, getting different tasks, or having to present or create a slide deck that is absolutely useless because I know it won't be presented, or we already have the information in a different format. Those things that frustrate you, makes you sometimes angry. When basically you'll know the situations where you want to say no when you start feeling those feelings of resentment, frustration, anger. Sometimes you've got to listen to yourself, and this is where the self-awareness comes really handy. When you handle this, you know and recognize the situations where saying no is appropriate. Some other situations it isn't, because that thing needs to be done because of whatever context you're in, or it's part of the job, or there's no one else to do it, and you'll use your professional hindsight and mind, to identify these. And what I'll say is, remember that saying no is not selfish, and it doesn't have to be a rude thing. It's one way of honoring yourself, your values, your professionalism, and as well as respecting the other person and their time. And there's actually, in the way you formulate your answer, no isn't just the a full blown no is not just the only answer. You could also say, I can't accept this request, or I can't do that. However, I'm also happy to help you with, I'll give you, starter for 10, or I can tell you how I would approach the issue. I can't do it for you. I can't sit with you through the whole steps, but I can give you my opinion, or let me actually direct you to someone who actually will be able to help you. So there's a lot of variations of yeses. You don't have to go 100% yes or 100% no. You can also go in the middle, and it doesn't make you weak in saying no. It's just that sometimes it's appropriate to just do one part of the 10 parts they ask you to do, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's absolutely appropriate to say no, I can't do it, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to figure out yourself or ask someone else, and it's okay. I repeat that one once more. People will understand. Most of the time they'll understand why you can't, because they've been in this situation themselves. Everyone has. So it's a way of creating space for the things that really matter to you and that align with your goals and the visions and the stuff you've got to do at work. So I've added the link to download this template for free that you can use and reuse multiple times, and it's in the episode description. Please don't hesitate to communicate with me and send me a message if you're struggling with the answers, or if you're still not quite happy with the statement you might formulate in order to say no thank you to something. Most often it's because there's still a bit of judgment or guilt attached, because I can't hear you, I can't comment on how you've gone through the exercise, but I'm really happy to help you if you're struggling with it, because it's such an important topic. So thank you for listening, and say more no's than you have so far. Thank you for joining me on another insightful episode of The Marketing Whisperer. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a rating and a review on the podcast app of your choice. It really would help me reach more marketing leaders like you who could benefit from these insights in return. And I'd love if you would join upon my community of marketing leaders. All details are available on my website, startingblockscoaching.com. And lastly, if you're seeking one-to-one coaching, group workshops maybe for your team, leadership training, marketing expertise or career advice, basically everything that makes you a better marketing leader, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. Search for Magali Leroux. I don't know how else to pronounce it to make it easier. Speak soon.